Hello, everyone. Welcome to the series named Conversation with Kushal once again. Today's guest is one of the most renowned guests of our country, and he genuinely does not need any introduction at all. He's one of the most humble and down to earth human beings. He's none other than R Gopalakrishnan, sir. Let me just take few seconds and introduce him. He has studied engineering at IIT Kharagpur and attended the advanced management program at Harvard Business School. He has been a corporate leader for 53 years, 31 years in Unilever, and 17 years in Tata. He has also served as the vice chairman of Hindustan Unilever and an executive director of Tata Sons and several other Tata companies. He also serves as an independent director of companies like AkzoNobel India, Castrol India, etc. He has authored 16 books till date. It's a huge honor for me to interact with you, sir, and thank you so much for taking out your time from your busy schedule.
Thank you, Kushal. It's a pleasure to be on your program, and I hope we can have an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. So since the COVID-19 pandemic was hit, a lot of startups have failed. And in fact, a lot of startups were also forced to close down. A lot of businesses and entrepreneurs were also challenged because of this COVID-19 pandemic. I would want to ask you that how do you think have the Indian corporates dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic? And do you think that there could have been some things which could have been done better in the COVID-19 pandemic by all the corporates?
The onset of the COVID-19 epidemic is an act of nature, um, totally unexpected. And while all comparisons are odious, I compare it with tsunami, which is or an earthquake, which is far beyond what anybody has comprehended or understood. So, those who have been prepared for the unknown unknowns are the ones who have sailed through well. What do I mean by unknown unknowns? When you do a risk matrix in normal risk analysis in any company, including your own companies or our company, the companies where I have worked, you put down what can be the incident that can occur and what is the probability of its occurrence. In the same way, this will be a low probability, but the risk is enormous if it does occur. And this is in that category. Coming to a corporate sector, startups, grown ups, middle aged companies, those who have a runway of cash are the ones who have survived. Those who have had empathy are the ones who have survived. If I had to isolate only two factors, because one can give a very long list, I would say cash runway and human empathy are the characteristics of the companies that have done well. I'm not mentioning names.
If we follow your framework itself, you've laid down the MBA framework, which is the mindset, behavior, and action whenever we classify any particular business as institution. My question here is that what weightage would you give to other financial metrics which all the analysts analyze in their particular reports? For example, return on capital employed, return on equity, maybe profitability growth, sales growth. So what weightage would you give to these other financial metrics?
It is human nature and natural in that there are certain things that people will automatically look at. It is not in human nature to look at the attributes behind what is visible. So I'll take a metaphor to make my point without too much loss of time. Every person will look at a handsome man or a pretty girl and be impressed or bowled over or whatever by the looks of the person. That's natural. You don't, and commercial metrics like ROC and um, total shareholder return and so on are the equivalent of a beauty contest. They are readily available. You can download, and those people who are 5 feet 7 inches tall or above, who have a reasonable face, complexion, whatever are the parameters, and who can be made up with a makeup artist, they all look good. But looking at the person behind is what creates the institutions. Every pretty girl doesn't make a great wife. Every handsome man doesn't make a great husband. I mean, we all know this. And it's the same with companies. It's not that looks don't matter. So you can't say financial metrics are irrelevant. The company that you're looking at to make into an institution must have some basic financial strengths and parameters. But then you have to look within to say, पर्दे के पीछे क्या है? And that's what makes it for an institution. And that's what our 6 books are trying to do through the
Right.
research methodology that we have adopted. We have chosen companies which are not necessarily the best performers in their category. I'm sure somebody can say that, HDFC is not the best performance in the financial sector. There are ABCs ahead of them. HDFC, the mortgage company, or Larsen and Toubro amongst engineering companies. But they, all the 6 companies we chose have the minimum requirement, which is that they are in the top 5 or 6 of their category. And
Right.
once that has happened, then we could peer into what is behind. And that is what we have brought together, because institution building happens like, you must have a person must have the minimum looks in the eyes of the other person. If a woman is looking at a man, that man must have the minimum looks in the eyes of the woman for him to be considered in the set for her consideration. And then she will look behind and see, can I spend the rest of my life with this guy? And that's how I think the differentiation I make between financial metrics. Financial metrics are the visible features of looking good. And what we have looked at for institution building is the invisible features that really make you good.
Right. That's an amazing answer. I think the metaphor of just comparing the financial metrics with looks, that really explains us that it's the financial metrics, but more importantly, it's the management and the quality which matters apart from the financial metrics which we are going to evaluate.
You know,
Sir, also, like, every person in this particular country needs guidance from experienced professionals like you. And I also happen to know that you are a firm believer of mentoring and not mentoring, which is quite interesting. Like Saurav Mukherjee, whom I had interviewed recently, he also puts it very nicely and in a different manner. He states that it's like when a student is ready, the teacher arrives. So, my question to you is, how can we become a good mentee so that we can leverage the advantage of industry professionals and experts?
well, my experience is all I can share. That today, mentoring has become a great buzzword in art. There is an Institute of Coaching Federation. People become members. They become 3-star, 5-star. It has been programmatized. That's with you got a very good left glove. You need a class coach who's trained well. Thank you very much. But you need a right glove also. दोनों हाथ से ताली बजती है. And the right glove is the mentee. And the mentee, people like you, and how I was 50 years ago, must have a mindset which is seeking out uh, words of advice, whether they are called mentor or not. And I believe that those who look at the clouds and say, इस पे पानी गिर रहा है, ओस आ रहा है, they are the ones who get mentored. And those who think, ओस है तो मेरे पास आने दो, don't get mentored. And I can give many examples of people who didn't intend to mentor me, but who gave me some advice which has helped me a lot in my thinking or my career, whom I consider mentors, but they have never been to a coaching. So young people should look, in other words, they should look for the song behind the
Right.
words.
Just on this, a follow up question quickly, which came to my mind. So, how would you define enjoyment? Like, when would you say if a person is enjoying his work or not?
Enjoyment is when you don't know how time has passed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember that famous catch Saurav Ganguly took in the Goa ODI. I think they were playing West Indies. Saurav was in the slips, and he was not a great fielder, according to the pundits. But the ball was whizzing past him, and he pulled out his hand and he got the catch, and they went on to win the match. And when he was interviewed after the match, he said, actually, at that moment, somebody asked him, Rajdeep Sardesai, somebody, how did it feel? How did you get this catch? He said, actually, I don't know what happened.
Hmm.
The truth is, I just reacted and the ball was in my hand, and it turned out to be a turning point for the game. That it is a moment. So when you don't know how time passed, imagine that Uh, You are wooing a very pretty girl, and she agrees to have coffee with you. You spend 1 hour with her. वो तो लगता है कि 10 मिनट में खत्म हो गया, right? And conversely, think that you're having to have tea with your boss. वो 1 घंटा लगता है कि 4 घंटा हो गया, correct? The clock time is exactly the same. It's 1 hour. But एक ऐसा महसूस होता है कि it is only for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. The other one feels like it's 4 hours. What is
Right.
the difference? One you've enjoyed, so you don't know the passage of time. The other one you did not enjoy. It is a chore, it is a burden. So if you're an income tax, since you're an accountant, I'm telling you this, if you're an income tax consultant, going and waiting outside the ITO for 2 hours to talk to the ITO cannot be enjoyed whatever you do.
Right.
Nobody can consider that enjoyment.
Correct.
But in the moment when you have won the case for your client and got him a refund of 1 crore or whatever, that is enjoyment.
At what stage of career we should just think that we should have a functional role or maybe a business kind of a role, which might also expose us in order to understand the nitty-gritties of the business. Nowadays what happens is that people are more inclined towards taking glamorous roles, staying in the corporate head offices and doing kind of roles. So what would be your advice in terms of taking those roles which are very ground fashion and which will help you in order to understand the nitty-gritties of the business?
If in my view, the person should not keep saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. The company must say, we think you'll be good at this, you'll be good at that. And so you have to deliver. I call it the 4 A's of your career: accomplishment, affability, advocacy, and authenticity. You must spend your first 7, 8 years so strongly on accomplishment, delivering results to the company, that they say, yaar, ye banda bada acha hai. You must do something and give this guy rotation, send him to a different department, give him. Then you start getting work done through other people. And then you find that you have to be affable. Not only must you be demanding, but as the surf advertisement says, धो डालो मगर प्यार से. You know, सबको धो डालते हैं तो कोई काम नहीं होता है. If you can cross that bridge, then you come to the third part of your career, when you have to have these skills of salesmanship, of advancing ideas, advocacy. And when you've done all of this, you probably become a CEO or a CTO. You must have the skills of authenticity. People must say, इस पे भरोसा करते हैं. ये he's saying यहाँ कूदो, हम कूद लेते हैं. खराब नहीं होगा. That's authenticity.
So my last question to you would be that how do we ensure that after achieving success, we maintain that graph of success?
It's all in your head, in my experience. When I'm climbing a mountain, again, I'm sitting in the Nilgiris, so mountain metaphor comes to my mind. It's hard work. I'm panting. I'm climbing. And my aim is to reach the top of that mountain because there's a temple there or there's a beautiful view of the valley, whatever. It's when you reach the top that you're the most vulnerable. So there was a US general who said this very picturesquely. He said, once you're on top of the tree, then everybody can see your backside much more clearly. You're vulnerable. And I think that's the time to remind yourself that it's far tougher to stay on top than to get onto the top. You have to know that getting to the top is tough, staying on the top is tougher. And the only way to stay on top is to have these qualities: A, humility, B, empathy, and C, the ability to listen to other people. Unfortunately, many leaders lose all these three qualities in transit. So it is like saying you climb the mountain, you work very hard, but once you get up on top, please have a lot of nutrition and cheese sandwiches and egg sandwiches. But you finished your egg sandwiches on the way, and now your tijori is empty. So leadership requires a lot of discipline and relearning. Leaders cease to learn because they think it's their job to make other people learn. But
Right.
actually, they also have to learn. It's only by relearning that what I did as a general manager will not work when I'm here if I'm to stay on. that they will be able to survive staying on top.